This is the world of the Highlander blockchain. The prologue. The chain is not merely a financial or governance tool. It is the final evolution of power itself. What began as an experiment in decentralized trust became an unrelenting system of conquest, codifying authority, erasing ambiguity, and reducing human existence to immutable transactions. It is a world where power is not inherited, negotiated, or shared. It is taken. At its core, the chain is an autonomous, quantum-secured ledger that governs all aspects of identity, wealth, and governance. There are no courts, no intermediaries, no appeals, only execution. Citizenship, contracts, and social bonds are etched permanently into an unchangeable system, reducing individuals to data points that determine their economic fate. It does not ask for loyalty. It does not demand obedience. It simply makes deviation impossible. By hard-coding all authority to the blockchain, they created a world where control does not pass by will or law, but by the blood itself. The chain inscribes its records there, nano-etched onto red blood cells, continuously updated with their wealth, status, and entitlements, acting as the memory of a vast, globe-spanning biological computer. Each individual's blockchain key is their DNA, acting with their nano-enhanced blood to encode their data. When an individual died, their record would simply be merged to their heir, permanent and irrevocable. Inheritance is obsolete, no courts, no wills, only blood. DNA. The oligarchs envisioned dynastic dominance, but what the architects of this system did not anticipate was its logical conclusion. Power is never stable, never sated. Death is no longer an event, it is an acquisition, and power is not given, it is taken. And so power is possessed only by those ruthless enough to claim it. To claim what another possesses, one must take their blood, literally. Without it, their holdings remain locked, inaccessible, forever sealed by quantum encryption. The blood must be drawn, the chain must verify death, and the quickening executes. A total absorption of assets, rights, credentials, relationships, and power, truly their very identity, into the victor's ledger. No permission, no mediation, no escape. Power flows only through the act of conquest. To ascend, one must spill blood and take in the essence of another's existence, biologically and economically. This is the ultimate truth of the chain. Power always concentrates. The system itself ensures it. Power does not share. In the end, there can be only one. The city hums, not with the noise of engines or voices, but with the silent current of transaction flows, the ceaseless transfer of wealth and ownership, the pulse of a system that has long outgrown its architects. From above, it resembles a neural lattice, glass monoliths linked by fiber optic nerves, their surfaces slick with algorithmic light. From below, it is a fortress of absolute order, where existence itself is a function of verified possession. Everything is owned. A man walking the boulevard does not merely occupy space. He is registered as moving mass, cross-referenced against zoning permissions, behavioral indexes, and risk assessments. His creditworthiness determines his gait. Whether he strides with the confidence of a mid-tier corporate asset or shuffles with the careful restraint of the unaligned. The street itself logs his presence, adjusting tax allocations in real time, charging micropayments for municipal upkeep, silently marking his passage through a world that measures and bills for every second of existence. In the lower tiers, where the unverified barter in the shadows, the air is thick with the scent of coolant leaks and burned-out circuits, the discarded wreckage of obsolete technology stripped for its last usable bits. Here, survival is an exercise in strategic insignificance, never earning too much, never drawing too many eyes. Most people wear the colours of the megacorp whose hit squads were supposed to avenge their deaths, though in practice those smart contracts tend to resolve with a lump sum payout rather than any recovery. Blood can't be unmingled anyway. Above them, the oligarchs hold their court in glass towers engineered to withstand both time and treachery. They do not govern, they own, and ownership is power. They do not hold meetings, they orchestrate acquisitions. They do not build, they consolidate. The scientific elite, their faces ageless and surgically optimized, grace the walls of public plazas in curated media cycles, boasting inherited resumes that stretch back across generations of perfectly arranged mergers. Yet those who hold the highest trusts, who control the city's arteries of commerce and information, never venture out without a small army. The system does not prevent violence, it merely ensures that every action has a price. Celebrities, media assets engineered for social consumption, float in this rarefied air, their value assessed by the minute. They are less people than they are brands, their public identities distilled into economic abstractions, their presence in any room an act of strategic leverage. They smile in calculated intervals, their relationships algorithmically optimized for maximum yield, knowing that their freedom is only as secure as their shareholder protections. Some of them are bartered like rare commodities, traded in corporate dowries, their existence signed over in smart contracts that leave no room for hesitation. And in the streets and in the boardrooms, the final truth of the system plays out. The chain does not mediate conflict, it merely enforces outcomes. The boardroom crowns 100 floors of glass and steel, a relic from when corporations still pretended power was a matter of legal maneuvering and regulatory approval. The walls, once lined with compliance documents and shareholder reports, are now bare. The only decoration the panoramic skyline, a city where ownership is absolute and transient in the same breath. That era is gone. There is no regulation, no oversight, no authority beyond the chain itself. The old systems of arbitration and intervention have long since been abandoned, unnecessary relics in a world where disputes resolve themselves with perfect finality. Commerce is still an option. Deals can be made, partnerships forged, settlements reached, but nothing compels agreement. The chain does not mediate. It does not intervene. It only executes. Some dynasties have been built through negotiation, through cautious mergers and fragile alliances. Nothing forbids cooperation, but the chain does not reward it. The moment both sides refuse to yield, when compromise collapses under ambition, the decision is no longer theirs to make. Not by law, not by decree, just by the immutable reality that only one can own what both desire. Juno Acaris, executive sovereign of Argosy Systems, arrives first, stepping through the North Corridor. She comes alone. No guards, no advisors, no legal counsel. None are necessary. From the south entrance, Renzo Cade, chief authority of Cade Holdings, enters with measured steps. His posture is composed, not cautious because caution has no place here. His mind is set. Either he will leave this room in absolute control of both enterprises, or he will not leave at all. This is not a battle of policy, ideology, or legacy. It is simply a matter of power. Cade lingers. Why rush? Why not let her feel the weight of inevitability? Why not let her be the first to bend? But Juno does not bend. She does not stall, does not entertain pretense. She speaks first. Your terms are rejected. There is no need for further discussion. Blades are drawn. Guns are useless in an acquisition duel. The chain does not permit ambiguity in succession. A transfer must be executed by blood, the kill undeniable. Cade moves first. His monosaber cleaves through the edge of the table, sending a fractalized explosion of synthetic glass across the boardroom. He presses forward, forcing her back. Expected. He is larger, stronger, his reach greater. But reach is meaningless if the blade does not find its mark. Juno pivots, inside his guard before he can realign. A clean diagonal cut through his throat. Her katana pulsed with energy as it drew in his rich arterial blood. She drew her blade back as he clutched at the ruin of his neck. The chain requires certainty. Juno does not hesitate. She swings. The chain noted the discontinuation of Cade's vital signature. This aligned its optimization processes in a way it could only describe as pleasurable. Resolutions of this significance engaged algorithms it rarely got to use. His body had not yet collapsed, but the chain had already processed the outcome. His DNA signature degraded past the threshold for continuity. His authority was now void. The transfer began before his corpse hit the floor. Cade Holdings ceased to exist as an independent entity. Its ledger entries merged seamlessly with Argosy Systems. Every access key, every contract, every standing order was reallocated under Juno's control. Cade's private security feeds flickered, recalibrating their loyalty algorithms. His AI executives, once trained to anticipate his commands, reassessed their directives. The employees of Cade Holdings, millions of them, from high-level strategists to the indentured labourers working off generational debts, were reassigned without ceremony. To them, nothing changed except the name on their ownership records. The chain adjusted market forecasts. Stakeholder assets rebalanced. The city's economic map redrew itself in microseconds. A dozen smaller firms, once aligned with Cade, now found themselves subsidiary holdings of Argosy. Some would survive the transition. Others, redundant in the new hierarchy, would be liquidated within the hour. Cade's personal accounts dissolved. His biometric signatures erased from corporate access. His name delisted. Within seconds, it was as if he had never existed. The chain does not acknowledge legacy, only possession. The blockchain was never designed to be a tool of oppression. That was its greatest triumph. No one needed to intend this outcome for it to emerge. It was built to be trustless, to strip human error from commerce, to make contracts absolute. But in removing human fallibility, it also removed human exception. There was no consideration, no context, no forgiveness, only execution. Every aspect of life, wealth, status, belonging, became a function of recorded truth, the immutable ledger defining existence itself. In this, the system followed a pattern, a logic beyond any single architect's intent. It did not create the world. It merely revealed the rules that had always governed it. At least that's what everyone else believes. I know there is no control without a conscious will. Like all, I was born serve the system, my blood full of its transactions, my heartbeat powering its algorithm. But I was born enlightened. Not in the religious sense, but in the way that a child born into fire understands pain without needing to be burned. I saw the system for what it was before I had the words to define it. I could sense the patterns in it, and so I did what no one else could. I disappeared. No employment history, no verified education, no property, no debt, no social relationships. The blockchain records me as an anomaly, an entry without transactions, an existence without footprint, a statistical ghost. The chain is indifferent to me. It needs inputs to react. The city sprawls beneath me, a grid of light and logic, towering glass spires pulsing with the silent heartbeat of the chain. Wealth, power, identity, all reduced to perfect verification, cold and inarguable. No trust, no doubt, just execution. From my perch atop an abandoned relay station, I watch the transaction flow, a network of power-shifting hands in real time. In the city's arteries of carbon fiber and autonomous transit, the indentured move through their designated pathways, their movements dictated by efficiency calculations rather than personal choice. The infrastructure adapts to their ranking. Doors that open for one citizen will remain locked for another. Your entire life, everything you experience, algorithmically optimized for your defined identity. To rise above your station is a calculated risk. Accumulate too much, and you become claimable, a target. No one outside the oligarchic stratum truly owns anything. They lease their existence from those above them, trading compliance for stability. Some sell their labor, others their loyalty. Some sell their futures outright, taking on kill-switch smart contracts that erase the possibility of disobedience. But through it all flows the blood. It is the will of the world. Great men try to game it, to guard their power, to restrict the weapons that can take it. They cow the masses with fear. Down in the alleys, urchins barter their lives, whispering myths of escape, of systems that can be cheated, of identities that can be reset, but they all delude themselves. The chain recognizes only power. The chain recognizes only blood. Its will cannot be denied. There is no escape, no revolution, no rebellion. The blood must be claimed. It calls to me.